Hello and welcome back to Engineers Olympiad. This is the Geotechnical Engineering MCQ series. We're learning the subject from MCQ questions or one-line questions for that matter. And this is the video lecture number 2. We have already done one lecture on the same subject and you can watch that video before watching this video. So let's get started. First question is soils deposited by winds are known as. Soils deposited by winds, or where the wind will be a transportation agent for a soil to carry it from its parent rock to some other place of deposition, those soils are known as aeolian deposits. All right. So soils deposits by winds are known as aeolian deposits. And you must also note that the particle size for such soils, it depends upon the velocity of the wind. All right. And it is quite evident that the final particles are carried far away from the place of the formation, right? So a dust storm gives us a good visual evidence of the soil particles carried by wind, where the agency of the transportation is wind itself. All right, so a dust storm gives us a good visual evidence of the soil particles which are carried by wind. So it must be noted that all those deposits wherein wind plays the role of the transportation agent and gets the soils deposited far away from their place of formation or far away from their parent rock, all those types of soils are known as aeolian deposits. All right, next question. Next question is silt deposits made by wind are now we have the options, we have to choose the correct one. Silt deposits made by wind are known as Louis, have low density and high compressibility. Bearing capacity of such soils is quite low. Permeability of these soils is large in vertical direction, or all of the above. We have to choose the correct answer. The question is silt deposits made by wind. Which one is the correct answer? Yes, it's true that the silt deposits made by wind, it's known as Louis. It's true that they have low density and high compressibility. So Louis is a silt deposit made by wind. All right, and they have low density and high compressibility. And bearing capacity of such soils, it's true that it's quite low. All right, and permeability in the vertical direction is also quite large. All right, so these are all the features of silt deposits made by wind. First one, that they are known as Louis, and so we can say that Louis is a silt deposit made by wind. They have low density and high compressibility. Their bearing capacity is quite low, and their permeability of such soils is large in vertical direction. So the correct answer is all of the above. All right, now going further. All right, explain the following terms. We have been given certain terms and we have to explain them one by one. First one is drift. All right, so drift is a general term used for the deposits of soil made by glaciers directly or indirectly. Directly or indirectly. All right, so drift is a general term used for the deposits of soil made by glaciers directly or indirectly. So all those deposits of soil wherein glacier is a medium of transportation. So drift is a general term for all those soils which are made by glaciers either directly or indirectly. Next one is till. Till is a deposit of soil made by glacier melting of glaciers All right, melting of glaciers. Directly. All right, so the general term for all those deposits of soil which are made by glaciers, either directly or indirectly, that's known as drift. All right, whereas the till, these are deposits of soil which are made by melting of glaciers, and that too directly. All right, next one is terminal moraine. All right, so we have to define what is terminal moraine. All right, see, during the advancement, glaciers transport soils. We know that. All right, because in addition to wind, water, gravity, glaciers are also very important agencies of transportation, all right, in case of transported soils. So during the advancement of glaciers, it's known that they go on depositing soils. They go on depositing soils, all right, and at the terminus, when this melting glacier drops the material in the form of ridges, that is known as terminal moraine. All right, so during the advancement of the glaciers, they go on depositing soils, and at the terminus, a melting glacier drops the material, transported material, drops the material in the form of ridges, in the form of ridges. Those ridges are known as terminal moraine, which are known as terminal moraine. All right, so this is the definition of terminal moraine, that during the advancement of glaciers, they go on depositing soils because it's one of the agencies of transportation, and at the terminus, a melting glacier often drops the transported material in the form of ridges, and that is known as the terminal moraine. All right, next term that we have to define is ground moraine. Now, the land which was once covered by glaciers and on which till has been deposited after melting, that is known as ground moraine. All right, so the land which was once covered by glaciers and on which till has been deposited after the melting of a glacier, after its melting, all right, that land is known as ground moraine. All right, so this is the definition of the ground moraine, that the land which was once covered by glaciers and on which till has been now deposited after the melting of the glacier, that land is known as ground moraine. All right, we learned about till earlier, all those deposits of soil which are made directly by the melting of the glaciers, whereas the drift is a general term for all those deposits of soil which are made by glaciers, either directly or indirectly. But all those deposits of soil which are made directly from the melting of glaciers, those soil deposits are known as till. The ground moraine is the land which was once covered by glaciers and on which now till has been deposited after the melting of the glacier, so that land is known as the ground moraine. All right, the next term that we have to define is outwash. All right, the soil carried by the melting water of the glacier from its front, that is known as the outwash. All right, so it's also a type of soil. The soil carried by the melting water from the front of the glacier, from the front of a glacier. All right, that is Those soils are termed as outwash. Alright, so this was the definition of outwash. Next term which we have to define is glaciofluvial deposits. Alright, now what are glaciofluvial deposits? All those deposits which are formed by glaciers, wherein the material is first moved by glaciers and then subsequently deposits by streams of melting water, those deposits are known as glaciofluvial deposits. That's why glacio and fluvial. We know that all those soils which are transported by water, those are known as alluvial deposits, that we already know. All right, so all those soils which are moved by glaciers and then are subsequently deposited by streams of melting water, those deposits are known as glaciofluvial deposits. So in case of these deposits, these are also type of soils in which two agencies of transportation play a role. First, one is glacier and the second one is water. That's why they are known as the glaciofluvial deposits. The material is moved by glaciers and then subsequently deposited by streams of melting waters coming from the glaciers. So these deposits of soil are known as glaciofluvial deposits, and they have stratification. These deposits, glaciofluvial deposits, they have stratification. All right. So this was question number 3, wherein we were asked to explain certain terms: drift, till, terminal moraine, ground moraine, outwash, and the glaciofluvial deposits. All right. Moving further to question number 4. Question is, gravity deposited soils are called as. All right. See, we know that water is an agency of transportation. So is the wind. So is glacier. And also one more important agency of transportation in case of transported soils is gravity. Soils do get deposited by gravity, and soils can be transported through short distances under the action of gravity. All right. And colluvial soils such as talus, these colluvial soils such as talus, they are deposited by gravity. All right, so the general term for the gravity deposited soils, they are known as colluvial soils. All right, and their biggest example is talus. Talus is a type of colluvial soil. All right, and has been deposited by gravity. So here gravity plays the role of transportation agencies. All right, this talus consists of irregular coarse particles, and it's a good source of broken rock pieces and coarse grained soils for many engineering works. Talus, it consists of irregular coarse particles, and this talus is also a good source of broken rock pieces and coarse grained soils, which are used for many engineering works. All right, so this was about the gravity deposited soils. They are known as colluvial soils. All right, next question, question number 5. Question number 5 is, type of colluvial soil which consists of irregular and coarse particles and is a good source for broken rock pieces and coarse grained soils is called as, it's called as talus. All right, so talus is a type of colluvial soil which consists of irregular and coarse particles and is a good source of broken rock pieces and coarse grained soils, which is used for many engineering works. It's known as talus. Moving further to question number 6. Question number 6 says, colluvial soils such as talus, are transported by water, wind, gravity, or ice? So the correct answer is gravity. Colloidal soils such as talus, they are transported by gravity, as we learned. Next question, question number 7. Question number 7 is, glacier deposited soils are called as talus, Louis, drift, none of the above. We know that the talus is a type of the soil which is deposited by, it's a type of colloidal soils, and colloidal soils are deposited by gravity. Alright. Louis, we know that it's a silt deposit made by wind. Drift is a general term used for deposits made by glaciers, either directly or indirectly. So the glacier deposited soils are called as drift. Drift is the correct option out of the 4. Alright. Moving on to the next one, question number 8. Cohesionless soils. Alright. Broadly, we have 2 types of soils, cohesive soils and cohesionless soils. Alright. So we have to study about them as well. Alright. So the question is, cohesionless soils are formed due to oxidation, hydration, physical disintegration, or chemical decomposition. Alright. We know that soils get formed by physical disintegration or mechanical weathering, or the chemical decomposition, or that we also know is known by the name of chemical weathering. So soils get formed by these processes, either physical disintegration of the rocks or the mechanical weathering of the rocks, or chemical decomposition, which is also known as the chemical weathering of the rocks. During these processes, soils get formed. During physical disintegration, certain changes happen, like temperature changes, there is wedging action of ice, there is spreading of roots of plants, and there can be abrasion as well. All these processes lead to disintegration of the rock minerals, and we get soils. All right, soils get formed by such processes. But it's also known that in all the processes of physical disintegration, there is no change. There is absolutely no change in the chemical composition. The soils formed have all the properties of the parent rock. And we know that coarse grained soils such as gravel and sand, they get formed by the processes of physical disintegration, which can be the temperature changes, wedging action of ice, spreading of roots of plants, or abrasion. All right. During all these processes, different minerals of a rock, they get disintegrated. There is a mechanical weathering of rocks, and the soils get formed. So coming back to the question says, cohesionless soils are formed due to oxidation, all right, oxidation, hydration, physical disintegration, or chemical decomposition. Which is the correct answer? Cohesionless soils or the coarse grained soils. All right, so they are formed by which of the process? They are formed by physical disintegration. So cohesionless soils or the coarse grained soils such as gravel and sand, they are formed by physical disintegration. All right. Oxidation and hydration, they are the certain reactions which happen during chemical decomposition or the chemical weathering of the rocks. All right. So cohesionless soils are formed not due to oxidation, not due to hydration, but due to the physical disintegration or the mechanical weathering of the rocks, in which certain changes can occur due to temperature changes, due to wedging action of ice, due to spreading of roots of plants, or due to abrasion. All right. So this was about question number 8. Moving further to question number 9. Question number 9 says, the following type of soil is not glacier deposited. All right. The following type of soil is not glacier deposited. Which is that soil? Is it drift, till, outwash, or bentonite? All right. So these are all types of soils: drift, till, outwash, and bentonite. We have to look for the answer, which is not glacier deposited. The following type of soil is not glacier deposited. We know that the drift is a glacier deposited soil. All right. And in fact, drift is a general term used for All those deposits of soil which are made from the glaciers, either directly or indirectly, are those deposits of soil which are made by the melting of glaciers, and that too directly. Outwash, we learned that the soil carried by the melting water from the front of the glacier, all those deposits are known as outwash. And bentonite. Bentonite is definitely not glacier deposited soil. All right. So the correct answer for this question is, I'll change the color so that it will look prominent. Bentonite. All right. So the bentonite is not a glacier deposited soil, whereas drift, till, outwash are definitely glacier deposited soils. All right. Moving further to the next question. Next question says, all right, state whether the following statements are true or false. It's a nice question. We have to state that whether these statements are true or false. All right, so let's see one by one. Let's see whether these statements are true or false. First one is, coarse grained soil is formed due to mechanical weathering of rocks. All right, this statement is absolutely true. Yes, it's true that the coarse grained soil such as gravel and sand, they are definitely deposited or formed due to the mechanical weathering or the physical disintegration of the rocks. So this statement is true. Next one, silt particles can be seen by naked eyes. No, definitely not. This statement is false. All right. The statement that the silt particles can be seen by naked eye is false, because silt, it's a fine grained soil. It's a fine grained soil. And the point to note